Happy Marriage Moment Monday. Hello to the wifelers. We are wise for life. How y'all doing today? My name is Lady Nakia Wright. It gives me an honor, a privilege, and so much joy to grace your computer screens, your iPads, your iPhones. Surprise, it's me. It's been so long, right? This is what I look like for real, it does. This is me for real. Oh, I've missed seeing so many of your faces and creating new physical moments with you. Can you believe? I think we're like 90 something days into the quarantine. Who would have thought that in January this would have been our life? Like, I would have never imagined it. I would have never asked for it. I would have never hoped for it. But it's probably been one of the, while so many lives have been lost, and God, please bless the family members who are living in unimaginable moments. Can you bless them and strengthen them in ways that my words will never be able to express. I know that you can, and I know that you will, because you are God. So in this moment, God, just do the thing that makes you God. And in the midst of a pandemic, how y'all doing? It has been probably the most enlightening time of my life. As an individual, as Nakia, as a wife, Mrs. Wright. And it hasn't always been easy, but it's been worth it. It's been necessary. One of the things that makes you great is, how do you survive pandemic moments? Do they shut you down and make you shrink? Do you get lost in it and lose yourself? Or do you find yourself and you thrive and you commit to being the best you possible? That's my choice. That's been my choice. So my husband and I, we've had some great days during the pandemic. We have some great days. But we've had some not so great days. It's been like, I hear you breathing, don't breathe around me. Like, for real, if you breathe, like, don't breathe around me. Like, we've had some of those days. And that's real. You will. If you're in the house with somebody, you don't leave, and you tell me you don't have those days, I'm looking at you like, yeah, you're not real. We've had those days. And one of the things I want to share with you is one of the conversations that we've had that I think has forever changed us. So we had, in order to achieve greatness, you have to have difficult conversations and extremely uncomfortable moments. So we had one of those, and we sat down, and I don't remember how we started the conversation, but we sat down to have the conversation intentional. Because we were just like not having a great moment. And that one great moment led to several other moments where it felt like my husband and I don't fuss and we don't argue, but it felt like we were tolerating each other. Who wants to live with somebody that you're just tolerating? So we started the dialogue, and I'm paraphrasing, and we got to a point in our conversation where we were noticing that we had way more differences than we had in common. So I was like, what? I don't even like the food you eat. Or, your movies. I watch them because it makes you happy, but I really don't like the movies. And you don't like my movies. And we went down the list, and I was like, well, what do we have in common? Like, why we get married? And in that moment, you have to ask these questions. And in that moment, you realize that differences attract. And it's not the things that you have in common that connect you, because we do have some things in common, but at the time, we were on our differences. And it's our differences that brought us together. But I stopped because it felt really uncomfortable, because our list of differences was long. And I said, wait, tell me about your promise. You're like, what? I said, tell me about your promise. Tell me everything God promised you. So he started talking about his promise, and everything in me started leaping. I saw the things that he was saying, and I came to life. Like his promise, like it was like fire inside of me. And I said, baby, that's why we got married. Your promise makes me leap. Something in me attaches to everything in you in order to birth what it is that you just talked about. And it was such a defining moment for us. If you focus on the things that you don't have in common, your list will be great. But when your husband starts talking about his promise and what God said to him, and when something in you leaps, you know without a doubt, baby, we are in this and we are in this together. Now let's talk about what it is that we can work on and fix. And that conversation, I'm paraphrasing, was extremely difficult, but it was monumental. It was life changing. And while I thought I knew everything there was to know about my husband, I was introduced to a new him. And it has birthed a greater love, a greater passion. It's put some elasticity on my grace and his grace, and it's needed. God joined you and your husband together for a purpose in the earth. Find out what that purpose is. Don't give up on your spouse because it feels like life is happening. Purpose needs you. You were put here to create God's will in the earth as one. And you cannot quit on the promise. You cannot abort the promise because it's uncomfortable. Uncomfortable moments birth greatness. Quitting is not an option, but finding ways to work around moments that seem like you're suffocating in is what makes you one of the best wives that ever lived. You may have to initiate the conversation. You may have to start it. And you may have to be the one. You may agree to disagree sometimes, but go into the conversation vowing to be a listener and not a defender. While you may want to defend your actions when you hear the things that your husband shares about you, don't. Be a great listener. That's a gift that you can give your husband. Be a great listener and commit to having a marriage that produces purpose, that births happiness, and creates a life that both of you want to share with the world. Because listen, you are somebody's answer. Live to be an answer. I think that's all that I have. I hope this makes sense. I was rambling. I just want to give a wife hope today to let you know in the midst of different moments, birth new moments that creates greatness in your marriage, creates greatness and for the world to see, because again, you're somebody answer and somebody is looking for you to help them in moments that they're not equipped to handle. Be the lifeline that somebody needs to make it. So, happy Marriage Moment Monday. And here's to the greatest days that we've ever lived. In this pandemic, come out stronger, come out wiser, come out happy, and come out a more unified one than when you went in.